T.O. Blaze.
Hey there, this is T.O. bringing you another Kerbal Space Program video, another entry in my Laythe Legacies series. And in this video, which took place over a few different missions with a lot of in-game time between them, I set up an airfield away from my lathe surface station. So the game physics could be an issue when playing with lots of crafts nearby. So if you have a craft that's more than, I think it's something like 2 kilometers away, the game's physics don't take that craft into account, which is nice. So I decided to set up an airfield that would be just out of physics range, close enough to drive to, and technically close enough to walk to if I really wanted. And that's what this video is all about. So that little copter that you saw was attached to my station when I originally landed it, and never really had a function for it. It was really just a small, neat little design that I included, and I decided to use it to go and find a flat space clear near the surface station that could serve as my airfield. So at the end of that little clip, the little copter fell on its side. So I'm going to salvage it for parts in a second, but going to try to land in that area because this area seems kind of flat. And you just saw me deorbit this plane. I like making planes, and decided I'd send a couple more to Laythe during the series so I could use them for different functions. That one only has room for one crew member, but in the future I could use it to go and find other flat areas further away from the station. So now I'm deorbiting the main facility of the airfield, which is the refueling tower. So I used the lower stage to kind of help bleed off some of the heat and energy. Lost some solar panels, which I didn't intend to save anyway. And now I'm trying to land relatively close to that little helicopter, but this is about as close as I could get it. Pinpointing landings can be a real challenge, especially without mods or anything that helps with it. So this was just an eyeball. And it obviously wasn't my first try. I did land a few times off in the water and in the little lake, but finally landed relatively close to the airfield. So again, it's kind of nice. It's more little right at 2 kilometers away. So I think technically the physics will I'm in physics range of the airfield from here, which is fine. So don't pay attention to this aircraft. I have another video in the pipeline to show it off, but I needed a means of getting this little guy down to the surface. This is the refueling truck, so it doesn't have the ability to extract fuel from the ground on its own. It's just going to transfer fuel from my tower to the aircraft at the airfield. So most of the jets and helicopters that I'll be flying around have relatively small fuel tanks. So I decided the tower doesn't need to be that big, and the fuel truck doesn't need to be that big. So in the future, I may need a larger airfield for larger aircraft, but for now, this is going to serve the purpose. So I'm go ahead and send some fuel down the road to the airfield, and this is all of the footage is sped up the same amount, I think 8 times. So this drive really wasn't that bad. It was like a couple 2 or 3 minutes in game maybe, and yeah, I don't have to time warp too much with these short drives, which is nice because when you do physics time warp on the surface, things can fall apart and fly apart. So the docking arm, the grabbing arm, that's the first test, and apparently I mounted it at the right height, thankfully. So I was able to refuel that jet and go and maybe check the other jet. While I'm here, I think it's time to try to salvage some parts from this little copter. Not going to use it again. It fell on its side, and the reaction wheel's not strong enough to flip it back over, and I really don't have much use for it. Also, if you might have paid attention during that earlier footage, the battery wasn't sufficient, so it doesn't fly very far. It doesn't have much of a range. I think that's why it ended up on its side, if I remember correctly. The battery was running low. So one thing I'll start having to manage more better on Laythe is my power consumption. Laythe is pretty far. Joule and all of its moons are very far from Kerbal, the sun. So solar panels don't work very well. So I'm going to rob all the batteries off of that little guy, and the solar panels, and not the battery. I guess I'll just take the solar panels this time. So in future videos, I'll be managing power, managing batteries a whole lot more better. So hope you guys are liking the series. I got another good video in the pipeline. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys again real soon.